Are you trying to figure out your niche in real estate? Well, my guest today, Brianna Weaver, a real estate bestie out of Atlanta, has figured out her niche in just over a year. And I have to say, Homegirl is killing it. We first met when a couple months ago in North Carolina. And after that, I started following her and I was just like blown away with how she is running her business. So, besties, help me welcome Brianna.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for having me. I'm so excited. Absolutely love what I do and want more people to know about it. So, yeah, I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. Okay, before we got started, I was quizzing you just to get to know a little bit about you and your business. And I was
Mhm.
like, wait, we got to stop so that the besties can hear it all too. So
Yes.
tell the besties, introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about how long you've been in the business and like what got you into real estate before we get into your super dope niche.
Yes. So I have been in real estate for just over a year. I started in July of 2023. So it's been a year and 4-ish months now. So I found my way into apartment locating. Honestly, almost on accident. It kind of found me. So a few years ago, when I was searching for my own apartment here in Atlanta, like Rosemary said, I'm based in Atlanta. I have a YouTube channel and I was just kind of like documenting my apartment hunting experience and showing a lot of the apartments that I was going to, different tours. I would put like the names of the places, the prices of the places, and the viewership went crazy. There are thousands and thousands of views on these videos, and that's also what got my channel monetized. So that's what grew my channel, and I started realizing, okay, there's a market for people who seem to be searching for apartments. And then people would start asking me, people who are moving from other places, they would start asking me, like, you know, can you help me find my apartment? And I was like, yeah, sure. At first, I was doing it for free. And then I realized, like, there's something missing here. How can I make money off of doing this? So, I started looking into different apartment locating companies. There aren't many here in Atlanta, but there are a handful. So I started looking into different locating companies and like seeing what the requirements were. There was a lot of information on YouTube from other locators who were experts in the market, experts in the industry, and they were sharing a lot of information. So that's really how I learned about apartment locating. And it actually took me a while to build up the confidence to actually do it because I didn't really see many people doing it. Well, at least in Atlanta, I didn't really see many people doing it. So it was kind of scary at first. I had imposter syndrome. It's like, what are people gonna think? You know how when you're starting something new. And then one day I just decided to go for it, and the rest is history.
It literally is history. And to see you like, and it makes complete sense. I didn't realize you had a YouTube channel. So do you still like actively, and we'll get into it, but do you still have it?
I still have it. Do I still post on it? Not as much, but I've been filming a lot lately. So my goal is to come back to YouTube because I feel like I can expand my business on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, and I want to talk to you a little bit because I'm on a YouTube kind of like, oh, okay, let me like tap into here a little bit. So it happened very organically. So when
Mhm.
you got your license, did you get your license thinking I'm solely going to apartment locate or like was that your so you never went into it or is it on your radar to
So
do traditional?
So when I was working on my real estate license, my game plan was to do apartment locating for a year and then transition into residential real estate because the apartment locating company that I was looking into here in Atlanta, they required you to have your real estate license. So
Got it.
that's kind of what, I was like, okay, well, I need to do this in order to work for this company. I ended up not even working for that brokerage. So it ended up being pointless because the one I'm at now doesn't require it. But yeah, I do eventually want to transition into residential. I thought it was going to be after a year, but things just started moving so quickly and so abundantly that I think I'm going to postpone it maybe another year. But
Yeah. It ain't
yeah,
broke, don't fix
we'll
it.
see. And another thing, one of the reasons why I wanted to get into apartment locating was because I figured that, if I could help people find their apartment, eventually these people will turn into home buyers. So
Yep.
I wanted to start building that pipeline for, going into residential real estate because, you hear the horror stories about agents who jump into residential and in their first year, they struggle to get production. So I figured apartment locating would be one, a quicker way to build my business, get more leads more quickly, close more deals more quickly. Also, a shorter sales cycle. Usually, on average, I'd say I work with clients maybe a week or two. If it
Mhm.
goes over about a week and a half, there's something wrong in the
Right.
process.
Right.
So usually the sales cycle is about a week and a half. So I figured it would be a really good pipeline for when I am ready to jump into residential, have some experience under my belt, hopefully, build a brand, and then also have some clientele that I can turn from renters into home buyers.
No, I love it. And what sparked this thought with me when I saw you, because I'm in the Dallas area, and I tell my
Mhm.
husband all the time, I keep encouraging him. He's on the investment side of real estate, but I have been encouraging him, like, get your license. And I was telling him, like, that I would be downtown Dallas. I would be speaking to my demographic, right? Well, his demographic, which is that, that mid 20 to
Yeah,
upper
young
30
professionals.
young professionals that for one reason or another, they are not looking to become homeowners yet, whether it's
Mhm,
affordability, whether it's
mhm.
location, because the houses that would make sense to them in their budget are probably going to be further out than
Further
that.
out in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from the way that I look at it, it's like these rents are not cheap,
At
you know,
all. Yeah, they're not.
and for what the apartment complexes are paying, you do that a few times a month, and I mean, it can be very, very lucrative. So
Yeah.
how have you found your clients? Has it been purely social media?
100%. And to what you were saying, I agree. That was another reason I wanted to do it is because I knew that there was a whole market of people who weren't quite ready to purchase a home, but maybe still needed some guidance on finding a
Yeah.
place to live, which is why I got into apartment locating. But yeah, I get all of my clients from social media. It's honestly insane. I do anywhere from like 2 to 300 leads per month. And that's
Wait, wait,
all.
wait, 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 wait.
Yeah, like it's
Hold on. Hold on. Wait a second, sister. You are not about to just roll past that. How does one manage 2 to 300 leads per month?
Oh my gosh. Well, in Atlanta, because my brokerage, we have markets all across the country. In Atlanta, we get the most leads. There are a lot of agents in Atlanta who get like to anywhere from 150 to like 300 leads per month. Now, granted, there are levels to leads. Like,
Yeah,
some people are moving too far out. Some people, there's a qualification process involved too. So some people, may not quite meet the requirements. So a lot of people weed themselves out. But
yeah,
that was what I struggled with the most was the management of leads. So I had to start delegating because it became to be too much. And I started hitting burnout. And after that happened, one time I was like, okay, wait, hold on. I'm only one person. I can't manage this many people, this many clients, this many projects at
yeah.
one time. So I try to work with people who are moving the soonest and are most likely to get approved because as in a commission based role, you want to try to
I'm not trying
maximize
to
your
play around with people.
time. Yeah, because if the deal doesn't close, we do not get paid.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
you know what I noticed is that, you know, clients, and I probably have experienced this even more with renters. I don't do a lot of rentals, but I'm thinking about, I have a lease listing right now, and this lady called on a Wednesday, and it was all good. She's interested in the house, but every day she called, the story has just changed
It
just a little
changes,
bit,
yes.
right? So, what is your process? Like, what systems do you have in place on how you filter these scenarios so that you know exactly where to focus your time?
Yeah, so we have like an intake form that we use. So it's linked in our bio. I use both Instagram and TikTok. Those are my top two like lead generating sources. And in that form, we just changed it. So it has a lot more qualifying questions on it. So now our lead flow should be a little bit less, but we should be getting more qualified leads.
I
We'll
follow that.
ask them about, proof of income, credit, where their credit falls, rental history. So if they have any evictions, any outstanding balances with any other apartment complexes, those types of things. So that is really our funnel for trying to get to the best and most qualified leads. But of course, there's still a lot of manual labor that goes into it because, people can falsify things. So it's all about using your best judgment too. And then once you get people on the phone for a consultation, asking the right questions and
Mhm.
knowing, the red flags too. Because after doing it so many times, you start to hear a lot of the same scenarios play out over and over. And you know who's a good use of your time and who's not. Or you
Yeah.
should know, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, and you just get better with time, right? You get better with time. Same thing.
Mhm.
You were at the mastermind in North Carolina, and I just shared like the better you get at conversations, then
Mhm.
you're going to be able to convert better. And especially when you're
Mhm.
dealing with buyers or renters, just really understanding where they are and asking the
Yeah.
right questions. Like, because if somebody, like I always say, if you ask somebody what's your credit and they don't know, it's bad. Wrong people know their credit, okay? Like, unless
Yeah.
somebody over, I'm gonna say
Right.
somebody over about 26. If I ask you, do you have any idea what your credit score is? And you like, oh, you know what? I don't know. No, it's not great, right? And
Yeah,
like,
that happens a lot.
let's just get it like, and let's just get it together. But you
Right.
have to have ways. Do you have an assistant that helps you with any of this?
Yes, so I just got an assistant, I'd say in the past month, and oh my gosh, it's been a game changer. Because I was working too many leads and I was just getting, like I said, burnt out to the point where the quality of the work was declining, response times to clients was declining, everything was just declining. So getting the assistant helps a lot because she helps with, I'd say about 40% of my leads. So it helps make it a lot more manageable and helps me be able to, work on other tasks too, like content and everything. Because at first I was a one-man show and it was okay at first when I was only, when I had a few clients, but as things started to pick up, it was completely unmanageable. And I continued to try to do it even though I knew I didn't have the capacity. And that's when things really started going wrong.
Yeah, that's one of the best things that I think, like for a multitude of reasons, right? For the client experience, for your own,
Yeah.
wellness and not burning out, and then just making the business like allowing it to stay enjoyable. A lot of
Hmm.
times I just see agent, we get into this hustle mode and the money is right, but then you will hustle yourself into a nervous breakdown. So kudos to you for
Thank you.
recognizing that you needed to apply some leverage in your business because I know agents that I'm still looking like, girl, why you don't have no help?
Yeah, and it took a while to get there, and I think it also takes humility too, because, this is your brand, you built it from the ground up, and you're so used to doing every single thing that sometimes it is hard to, like, want to give that up or even realize that, like, you need to give that up.
Yeah,
So, bringing in, some help or some assistance, one, took humility, like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to delegate," and then secondly, I'm gonna have to coach a little bit too, because depending on how much experience this person has, there may be like some teaching or
yeah,
coaching involved with it. We'll probably be working collaboratively a lot. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for me too, kind of learning like what I want in an assistant, because basically I'm duplicating myself.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's been a learning curve, and like what types of things I need in an assistant and of what I don't want, etc. So yeah, it's been a learning curve for me as well.
Okay. And then when people say, I love this, I have two questions. Well, one more question about the assistant, and then I want to get into the content. People get nervous, right? And I to hire on help. And I know like in my world on the more residential side, my
Hmm.
first hire was a transaction coordinator. And
Okay.
after I got a transaction coordinator, I was like, why? What took me so long to do this? Because she got paid
Exactly.
right? So this wasn't even an upfront cost. Like, are you giving an upfront cost to your assistant? You don't have to tell us the amount or
Yeah.
whatever. When we say assistant, I know that there's automatically somebody like, I can't do that. I can't afford it. And it's kind of like,
Mhm.
actually, you want to
Yeah.
lose deals and lose your reputation and lose your brand because you're not
Yeah.
managed. So what does that look like for you? Is she salaried, hourly, or does she get paid like when you get a lease person?
So she is hourly.
Okay.
So she is part-time. So it's not like a full-time assistant. She works about 15 hours a week. And
Okay.
then it's hourly based on that and then a commission off of, the deals that she closes. So that was interesting. And I went back and forth about whether or not I wanted to offer like an hourly wage or if I wanted to just do it solely based on commission because, especially in real estate, first of all, we don't get an hourly pay. If we don't
Okay.
close deals, like I said, we don't get paid at all. So I know sometimes if an hourly wage is involved, it can create for a little bit more lazy work. So I was like, I don't know if I want to go that route, but I know that it does take a bit of time to ramp up. And if it is commission based, someone can just completely lose motivation altogether.
Yep. Yep.
So I was like, let's make this kind of hybrid. Like, let's put in place an hourly wage for her time and then a commission when the deals do close. Because at the end of the day, I need help. Like,
Yeah.
scaling
Yeah.
my business.
Yeah.
And I did look at it as an expense at first, but the more I thought about it, if we are closing more deals in the way that we need to, it should just pay for itself. So it's
Million
not
percent
even,
investment. It's gonna
yeah.
be a 1,000,000% investment. Anytime,
Hmm.
like, and I love that you said that because anytime that I remember when I was coaching with my business coach once, and I was talking about it was right when I brought on my real estate team, I think. I can't
Hmm.
remember if it was my team or my director of operations now. And I said something to her along the lens of like when should I start getting my money back off of what I'm doing now, right? Like when should I see? And she really helped me understand that the investment, number one, I can't look at it as a cost because that
Yeah,
means that I'm hiring the
100%.
wrong people and for the wrong purpose. But she helped me to understand like the investment was not, it's going to show up monetarily, but also getting my time back. So if
100%.
yeah, if now them doing their task frees me up to do the things that God has called me to do, including the other stuff that don't have anything to do
Hmm.
with real estate, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't have to be at the open house over the weekend because my team is handling it and I get to be with my family.
Yeah.
That is the benefit of leverage. So
Yeah, and I've been seeing that a lot too, so I'm doing half the work and it frees up so much more of my time. I have so much more mental clarity
yeah,
and I like the idea of, things getting done without me always having to do every single thing.
yep,
And I think the quality of service, like you mentioned, client experience is also better because I'm not stretched thin. So
yep,
I like it for now. I love having some help. Like you said, I should have done it so much sooner, but I look at it as an investment and I know that I figure for me, it take about 30 to 45 days to really see the return on the investment or see like,
yeah,
the deal start to close without me necessarily having to close them. And they've been closing. So I'm happy about that. But like I said, it's been a learning experience. I've kind of had to step into more of a leadership role. So I've actually been holding myself more accountable by having to hold someone else accountable,
yep,
having to put in place real goals and KPIs because when you're, a solopreneur, it's easy to kind of just go through the motions, go with the flow. Whereas when you're managing a team, especially when there's a monetary investment involved, you got to make sure things are running the way that they're supposed to run. So,
yeah,
yeah, goals, KPIs for not only for her, but for me, us
yep.
collectively as a team. So it's been a different dynamic. I don't know, like, if I was even ready for this, but we're here and I'm embracing it.
No, I love it. And there is something to be said when you pay attention, right? So I
100%.
I definitely get it from y'all hear me harping about coaching and leverage and things like that. But you're right. When you are making an investment, I'm the type of person that's like, oh, I'm gonna get my like if I pay for the weight loss thing, I'm gonna lose the weight. Now, if I just say I'm gonna lose
Right.
10 pounds, I might not. But if I pay for it, I'm gonna get something out of it. Okay, before we
Hmm.
go, I'm curious. I know because I watch you, but what are you posting? What are you posting on the TikTok and on the Instagram that is pulling in all of this interest and lead flow to you?
I have a few different things that I do, and I wish I could sit here and pinpoint one thing, but I think it's a combination of things. One, I think it's about, giving your audience what they truly want. So every once in a while, I'll do a poll or like, put a poll on my stories and ask them what kind of content they want to see. And then I'll just start creating more of that. They told me that they were shopping in like the $1,600 to $2,000 range. And I did a series, an 8-part series where I just showed apartments under $1,700. And that series alone probably did like 400,000 views.
Wow.
So
Wow.
stuff like that. I'm really big on incorporating a lifestyle into the brand. So
Yeah,
I try to show a little bit of my personal life here and there. I try to make the content fun. I try to make it, I try to do a little bit of storytelling as well and kind of try to bring people in through that because at the end of the day in real estate, we are also, like selling the lifestyle piece is definitely a lifestyle brand.
yeah,
So incorporating that. I try to make my page as visually appealing as possible. So I'm very particular about my reel covers. Anytime I go out on a tour, I'm always taking pictures of not even me, but like things that I find aesthetically pleasing, whether it be a kitchen or whether it be a lobby or whatever it might be. Even if it's just the view, I'll take a picture of the view. And I'm very intentional about the way my page comes together. Like I plan out my reel covers because
I love it.
I know that the first impression is everything and the page needs to be eye catching. I have a lot of highlights.
Okay,
So I have highlights for every area of town, Midtown, Buckhead, downtown. I even have one that's just solely lifestyle, one that's BTS. I
yeah.
have a lot, like things to do in Atlanta. I
I
try to
love it.
incorporate.
No, I don't mean to cut you off, but I love it. And I just want to point out because I hear so often, myself included, that's like, I need to do more content, but doing more content without having a plan. And what I hear you saying is that number one, you involve your audience to actually figure
Mhm,
out what they're interested in. Because I
mhm.
would have thought, honestly, looking at your page, I would have thought that you're showing apartments like 4,000 and up without digging deeper, right? But you know that your audience that would immediate no for them because they're like, no, we're looking for some like we want a ball on the budget. So you're showing them exactly where they can ball on the budget and still have, their home expenses or their apartment expenses will still allow them to live the lifestyle that they want to
Mhm.
add to that.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you're showing how much, I think it is absolutely brilliant, but you are actually taking time to plan it.
Yeah, and I show a little bit of both. So I'll do, a lot of budget friendly stuff and I'll do a lot of luxury as well because I don't discriminate against price point. I know there are a lot of agents out there who will discriminate against the more budget friendly clients. I will not. As long as you are qualified and you're ready, I will work with you. And I mean realistic too. Like be realistic about what we're
Yeah.
expecting for the budget. But yeah, I post a little bit of everything. I love posting luxury content, but I know that the luxury content, there are less people at that price point
Because
than,
they might own a house. So
yeah, than the
they're like,
everyday person who may want to spend like 18 for a one bedroom, 17, 18 rather than 2,400 for a one bedroom. So yeah, but with social media, I actually enjoy social media. So I think that's the difference too. I think when you enjoy it and you like putting the effort into it comes together and it actually shows to the audience. So like I like putting out content. I'm always going to show up on stories. I know a lot of people don't really show up on stories. So I try to show up on stories like at least once a day if
yep.
I can. I also started an Instagram live session, so I've noticed that people even go back and watch that. If they discover my page and they'll go and watch a couple lives just to hear, the dialogue or maybe get to know me a little bit more. So it's a few different things that I've started incorporating to really like draw the people in. But overall, making it a lifestyle brand and also showing the wins too. I try to show as much of my work as possible
Yep.
so that people know, like, I'm credible and I actually, do this because as we know in real estate, there are a lot of people who take the pictures, who go out
Walking
and get the
slow in
content,
Louboutins,
but they don't
they're not
close the
doing anything.
deals.
Yep, yep, they're walking slow in the Louboutins, like, you walk slow in Louboutins too, but you actually close some deals.
So you gotta show the work, show the wins, so that people know that you are, credible and they want to trust you too.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, here's my question that I know somebody's listening to this and they're like, "Oh, like that's wonderful for her. She found her niche, but what about me?" You started this off saying that you had to overcome, or I don't know if you've
Mhm.
overcome it or if it's something that still comes up, imposter syndrome. And like full
Mhm.
disclosure, like you're in Atlanta where a fabulous realtor is like a dime a dozen. Like it's a
Yeah,
lot,
a lot of them. Yeah.
lot. So how has imposter syndrome presented itself, or how does it present itself, and how do you overcome it? Because you're doing it. So
Mhm.
what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so even when I first started, I knew that I literally just had to take a leap of faith. And one reason that I wanted to get into apartment locating, there were a lot, but one of the reasons was that I knew that it was really wide open, especially
Yeah,
here in Atlanta. It's bigger in Texas, but it was pretty much wide open here in Atlanta. I didn't really see many people doing it, especially in the way that I wanted to do it. So I was like, you know what? Even if, people may say this or may say that or not understand it, because that's what I was running into a lot. People just didn't understand apartment locating, especially in Atlanta, or how I would make money. So I was like, let's just do it. Like, you're going to be the only person doing it or one of few, and you're going to create a lane for yourself. And then people are going to be wondering how you did it 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 months later. So really, I just had to kind of get out of my own head and realize like you were meant for this. I had to kind of put myself in that position before I was actually in that position. So with apartment locating, it does, I would say, ramp up time. I closed my first deal within like 2 weeks of starting because the ramp up time is a lot less. It
yep,
doesn't take as
yep,
long to ramp up. But, even when I didn't have any clients, I was still showing up like I did.
yep,
The
yep,
same way I show up now is the same way I showed up when I first started my page.
love,
So really believing that I was that person before the things started happening, because confidence is one thing, especially when you're in a commission based role. When the deals aren't closing, the deals that you
yeah,
think are going to close don't close. You still have to keep pushing as if you're having your best month. So
yeah,
yeah, just getting out of my head, getting out of my own way. And even this time last year, my average deal size, I probably would say, was like 16. And then this month and last month, I closed two deals that were over $4,000. So that was another thing for me. I was like, do I even deserve to be like closing these types of deals? Am I ready to close these types of deals? Because there's one agent specifically who closes those types of deals on a regular basis.
yeah.
And, I was like, is this the space for me? Like, how did this even happen? Did it happen by luck? But then, you just have to trust God and realize, like, this is all happening for a reason. You've worked your way to this point, and He wouldn't put you here if He didn't think that you were ready.
I love it. I love it. And I love, like, you literally, like, faith without works is dead. So I
Hmm.
hear that you are out here doing the work, and you go from, not feeling confident to how many do you think you've closed since you got started? Like, if you had to put a number on how many people you've put in apartments,
I'd say maybe like 90. Yeah, I have
girl,
to get the
bye.
numbers, but yeah, like 90. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably close to 100. Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. And you're just proof. I just wanted you to share that as proof of what happens when you get outside of your head. Girl, I'm so
Yes.
grateful for you to, first of all, show up in North Carolina to meet me, and then to agree to do this podcast. I want to make sure
Pleasure's
that
mine.
yes, yes, I love it. I want the besties to know exactly where to find you. I'm going to put all your links exactly where they're either watching or listening to this episode, but let
Okay.
them know where to find this fabulous TikTok and this fabulous IG if they have referrals for you.
Yes, absolutely. So my Instagram is Leasing Luxury with Bree. Same on TikTok, YouTube. We're working on that. But when I do return to YouTube, it'll also be Leasing Luxury with Bree. And a fun fact before we go. So when I was at the retreat, I actually met someone who recognized me from TikTok. So it was like a full circle moment
Yes,
because
I heard her.
yeah. So, we see the numbers online, but it's hard to kind of like, put it into perspective, like them actually being real people. So, yeah, that was like a full circle moment. I was like, oh my God, really? You see my content?
Girl, no, we see it. You are doing your thing, and I'm just so
Thank
grateful for you. And
you.
I can't wait to, like, I'm cheering, like, big sister over here in Texas, bestie over here cheering you on. And I'm just so excited.
Thank you.
Okay, talk to you later.
If you enjoyed this episode and you have a real life bestie that you think it would resonate with, y'all, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that share button, because you know what? We are better together. Make sure you share the podcast, and I appreciate your reviews. I appreciate you giving me 5 stars more than you know. I'll talk to you next week.